Good evening and welcome to another Wednesday evening chat with Louise. So this evening I want to talk about, can you mend a broken heart? And I know from past vlogs that I've done how many people have been suffering, especially the ones when I talked about living on your own and being lonely. And I just wanted to go back because I saw an article the other day about grief groceries. And it was a lovely thing where somebody had actually helped someone, not by saying, is there anything I can do, but by actually taking what they needed without asking. Because people don't ask for help when they're heartbroken. So what causes heartbreak for a start? A lot of people think it's just from the death of a loved one or the breakdown of a relationship. When you feel abandoned, you could be divorced, it could be any kind of relationship. But it's also, I think, it can be the loss of a pet. It can be the loss of your health. What happens if you can no longer do the things you love? That can cause heartbreak. Losing a job that you loved. Having to sell your family home. A miscarriage. The loss of a friendship. And I can say that all of these things have affected me in time. And how did that heartbreak feel? Like a physical pain. When they call it a break, you actually feel the pain as if it's a break. And that's a natural response. Grief is a natural response to loss. The thing is, it feels different for everyone. And one thing that actually got me a bit cross and a bit frustrated by this was the hierarchy of grief. So person that's lost a husband they were married to for 40 years and had a really happy marriage and then he died, they're allowed to be more grief stricken than the person that had a 2-year relationship or lost a job they loved. No, everybody's grief, your grief, is the most important. And for everybody it's going to feel different as well. I think the most important thing to remember when it happens is the physical symptoms that you experience. You might not be able to sleep, or all you want to do is sleep. You may feel sick to your pit. I think the worst thing is when you wake up in the morning, if you've managed to get to sleep, and you have that first few seconds of the day where you think, and then it comes back to you, the memory comes back to you. And that can be really, really hard to deal with. Having to drag yourself through a day. So what can we actually do about it? Facing the grief is really important. I find that if you try and forget it and try and keep yourself so busy, it just resurfaces later. So the sooner we deal with it, the better. For those that cry a lot. There is no limit on your grief. But equally, if you're not a crier and you don't cry, it doesn't mean you're not feeling it. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. And this is another thing, well, she didn't cry. Did you see her at the funeral? She didn't cry. We're all different. And I think that's really, really important to remember. The other thing is, yes, it will heal. But you can move on, but it doesn't mean you've got to forget. And I think that's really important because sometimes we hold ourselves in grief and we keep ourselves there because we feel it's dishonourable. Oh, we mustn't forget them. And as time goes by, and I'm talking years, there are days when you perhaps don't think about them anymore. And then you can feel guilty. Well, you don't have to feel guilty. I think another thing I saw the other day that actually, and I hope this lightens it a little bit, is especially for a breakdown of a relationship, and the lady says, don't get over someone by getting under someone else. And I thought, how true is that? That people, that fear of being on your own and that loss, just wanting to fill that gap, especially if it's been a divorce or a relationship that's gone wrong. Wanting somebody to validate you, wanting somebody to make you feel better. But again, you're just papering over the crack and it will come back and resurface later. The first stages of grief, I think, are denial. You really can almost be like, it's not, this isn't happening to me, this isn't happening to me. And often people can go then into anger. And when my father died, and this is going back 19 years now, he wasn't an old man. And I'm quite spiritual, and I believe that he's still around me, he's still with me, and I still feel his presence. So yes, I miss him daily, and I could cry now about it. But I wasn't angry like my sisters. They felt anger that he'd left them when they needed him in his life. But that doesn't mean it's right or wrong. We're all different, and we all have to grieve in our own way. I think also there comes almost like a bargaining thing as well, where you're going, if this doesn't happen, or if this can happen, I'll do this. But again, we're just papering cracks or wishing for things that aren't going to happen. And then I think another stage can be depression. And I think we have to recognise the difference between grief and depression. Because once depression gets hold, then we do need to get help. And finally, you hope that you're going to get to the end of this process, however long it takes, and there will be some acceptance. You're going to go through sadness, guilt, fear, anxiety, so sleepless nights. I think even for people who are religious, they will question their beliefs. Why me? Why has this happened to me? The physical ailments, you can have joint pain, put on weight, you can lose weight, you can sleep too much, you can feel sick, you can actually be physically sick. None of that's wrong. Everybody's different. Don't let anybody tell you how you've got to feel and how you should behave. And don't let yourself tell you that either. Oh, I should be doing this by now. I should be strong. Why? Why do you have to be strong? You might have to be strong if you've got small children. Yes, but you can ask for help. So what can we do? Talk to people about it. Often if there's a death or something like that, it's you know, people are lovely for the first week or two, but it's after that, it's after the funeral, after they've left, after the divorce is settled, after you come home to that empty room where your beloved pet was. They're all valid. You want people that are still there and can still listen for you. And if you haven't got that, little by little, maybe it's time to find some new friends. Look after your health. If you're not sleeping, maybe we need to look at how we can sleep. If you're fearful, let's look at how we can deal with that fear. And some of the things I've spoken about in previous vlogs about living on your own, things like they can be really helpful. So if you've got a chance, do go and have a look at those as well. What did I do that found really helpful? Routines. I found a routine, so getting up at the same time of day, going to doing the same things, you know, making myself go through those routines was very helpful. I literally felt like I dragged myself through the days, but it was a healing process and it did help. And I journaled, I wrote a lot. I would write things and I would burn them. Because to me, once they were out, I didn't want to keep going over them and over them again. I wanted it gone. So writing is really useful, but don't dwell on it. And then I also think as time goes by and the pain goes, it can come back at different times. And I think planning for the triggers is really useful as well. So birthdays, anniversaries, things like that. So you're prepared. So maybe on an anniversary or something like that, what is it that would make you feel better that day? Do you want to stay in bed all day? Do you want to go out with the friends and celebrate somebody's life? Celebrate how you've moved on? Like with the loss of a pet, is it time to help somebody else? Maybe somebody that goes to work all day and, you know, can't walk their dog. Could you go and do that? So you're not replacing what you had, but you're learning little not adventures, but reaching out, just doing little bits to help rebuild. And I think another way of looking, especially with a relationship where you've given and it's over and it doesn't matter what happens, how much you love the person still, it's not going to be repaired. Just remember, you gave that little bit of your heart. You gave it willingly. I'm not asking for it back. My heart will heal. You keep that. You keep that love. Same for a loved one that's passed, same for my pets that have passed, all those things. I love them willingly, wholeheartedly, and I get comfort from that now. Just the one last thing, don't have regret for the things that weren't said or weren't done. You can't do anything about that. You really can't. All you can do is look at your life moving forward and be the best person you can be. And for me, I truly believe they're with us. They look down on us and they know that in our hearts we've done the best we could. So I hope that's helped a little bit. I'm sure we'll come back to this subject again in the future and perhaps in different ways. But going back to those grief groceries, if you know somebody in your life that's struggling with a bereavement or a loss, what can you do for them rather than just playing lip service and just saying, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. You probably genuinely are desperately sorry. Is there anything I can do to help? They're not going to say, yes, can you come round and do this? Yes, can you go and get my groceries or anything? But let's hope that you can do something and just say, I'm in the shop. I'm getting this now for you. Are you at home? Or I'm popping by in 10 minutes. Sometimes it's really hard to accept help, but that can be part of the healing as well. Much love.